Good morning. All members will please come to the floor. All members, please come to the floor. The hour for convening having arrived. All members, please take their seats. Mr. Clerk, will you ring the bell? Well, good morning. We're going to have the morning roll call. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? All members voted. All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines? Doorkeepers, will you please close the doors and keep them closed? As is our custom, we will begin our day with scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain today will be introduced by the gentleman from the 15th House District, Representative Matthew Gamble. Representative Gamble.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, it's good to be with you this morning and to be able to introduce my pastor, Dr. Patrick Latham from Tabernacle Baptist Church in Cartersville. He's the husband of Laura, and he has 3 children, Julianne, Will, and Levi. And he came to us in January of 2020. So I want you to stop and think about any pastor that takes a church in January of 2020. And then the world changed in March, and we had to go through everything that y'all know we went through with COVID. But he has managed that so well for us and positioned our church there in Cartersville. And so I'm proud to have him today. I also want y'all to be mindful of us. We both have teenagers in our house. And our teenagers like to talk back a lot to us, and we have to have great patience. But they're a little mad at us right now because we have a bill that's going to ban cell phones in schools. and I've told him we're going to vote for it. So anyway, y'all say a prayer for us, and would you please welcome Dr. Patrick Latham?
Thank you, Representative Gamble, and thank you, Speaker. It's an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning. I want to speak to you on the subject of wisdom. Out of all of the abilities and commodities that a leader or representative would need, wisdom is perhaps chief of all. It's like a bedrock upon which strong decisions, relevant initiatives, and transformational work in communities are built. King Solomon of Israel has often been dubbed the wisest man who ever lived. Before his death, he created a codex of wise sayings to leave behind for his royal heirs who would follow in his footsteps. Those wise sayings are contained in a book found in the Hebrew Scriptures and in the Christian Bible known as the Proverbs. And in advising his sons who would follow in his stead, Solomon gave these words in Proverbs 4, 7, and 8. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom, and whatever you get insight. Prize her highly, and she will exalt you. She will honor you if you embrace her. So out of all of the things that Solomon knew his sons needed, he knew they needed wisdom most of all. Leaders and decision makers need wisdom even more than they need talents, resources, and workers. The problem is that possessing wisdom can be difficult. This is true, first of all, because many don't know the true nature of wisdom. They confuse wisdom with just mere knowledge. But wisdom is more than knowledge. It's often been said that wisdom is knowledge in action. Wisdom isn't just information. You can think of wisdom as involving information, but as being more than information. Wisdom is the ability to take information and to apply it rightly to a situation. Wisdom is the application of information to a situation. Now, we greatly need wisdom in life, and wisdom is more than information. Wisdom is knowing the right thing to do in the right way at the right time. Now, the question is, how can we gain wisdom? After we know what wisdom is, how do we gain it? Well, Solomon recommended things like education, Proverbs 1:8, listen to wisdom. He also recommended life experience. The more you go through in life, you hopefully gain wisdom, Proverbs 14:15. And then Solomon also recommended consulting experts. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety, he would say, in Proverbs 11:14. So education, experience, and experts can help. But the Bible gives us a special promise in regard to wisdom. In James 1:5, often called the Proverbs of the New Testament, we read this great promise. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him. So prayer is a pathway to wisdom. In ways unbeknownst and unseen to us, when we humble ourselves and ask the all-wise Creator for wisdom, he gives it liberally and generously. And 1 Kings 3, 7 through 8 tells of how Solomon himself, though a wise man, though a powerful man, though a rich man and an esteemed man, he humbled himself and prayed, "O Lord, I feel like a little child, and I'm unable to lead this great people. Would you grant me wisdom?" And the Lord graciously answered that prayer. So though there are practical measures we can take to gain wisdom, prayer is often the best means and method for availing ourselves of the wisdom we need. Do you ever feel at a loss as to what to do when it comes to a path forward in life or a decision? Does the path forward sometimes seem unclear? Pray and ask God to guide you. The Bible promises he will hear and answer. And the unseen place of your mind and soul, he will enlighten you with his wisdom. What a great promise. Let's stand for prayer. Dear God in heaven, we recognize you, the Creator, possess all wisdom. Your wisdom is on display in nature all around us. And we recognize that we are often insufficient for the tasks and responsibilities before us. We pray with Solomon, please give us wisdom so that we might manage the affairs of our lives, our families, our communities, and our state in a way that pleases you and blesses and benefits others. And we pray today for Mr. Terry England. We ask for great healing, help, and strength. And I pray all these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. And now for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're going to stand right there a minute, and we'll get a photo. Just hold on a minute. Dr. Latham, thank you for that message. We appreciate you being here. Doorkeepers, you can unlock the doors. Members, you may join Dr. Latham in that South anteroom and express your thanks for him being here today and get a photo if you so like. Members, our doctor of the day comes to us by the invitation of Representative Stacey Evans of the 57th, Dr. Florence LaCroix, MD. She is downstairs in the aid station. If you need her, call on her. Go down and say hello and thank her for serving us today. Thank you for being here. Chair recognizes Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits. Chairman Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits, despite all the distractions from our cell phone, we read the journal of the previous legislative day and we found it to be correct.
You need to put that cell phone up and put it in one of those
Thank you, Mr.
bags.
Speaker.
I think you're going to have something to say about that. Chairman Hilton, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to dispense with the reading of the journal? Hearing none, the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there any objection to confirmation of the journal? Hearing none, the journal is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the resolution establishing the order of business of the day?
Representative Administration on the 104th moves following be established as the order of business in the first part of the period. Unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions. Second reading of bills and resolutions. Reports of standing committees. First reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions. Morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? Hearing none, and the resolution is adopted. Members, if I can have your attention, please. Members, if I can have your attention. We have a distinguished guest this morning. I'm going to ask Congressman Mike Collins if he'll join me. Good morning. Let's thank Congressman Collins. We want to show him hospitality for a number of reasons, because this is his home as well as ours. But a couple of weeks ago, I had the great opportunity to go to Washington, to the White House, and join President Trump and Congressman Collins, who was sponsor of the Lake and Riley bill, the Lake and Riley Act, who's already having great impact on protecting the citizens of this state and this country from criminal illegal aliens that are here amongst us. We know the impact is being felt already. Your work there does not go unnoticed. I know you started on it last year and you completed the journey this year. We want to thank you for your service, your continued service. We appreciate you personally, and we appreciate your representation of the 10th Congressional District here in Georgia, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. And thank you for being a good Georgian and a great American. Thank you so much. Thank you. First reading the bills and resolutions, the clerk will read.
House Bill 467 by Representative Powell of the 33rd, Mathiak of the 82nd, Seaball of the 34th, Tarvin of the 2nd, Cameron of the 1st, and others. Bill be titled Act to Amend Chapter 3, Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the state flag, seal, or other symbols.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 468 by Representative Huddleston of the 72nd. A bill be titled Act to Amend an Act providing for the Heard County Board of Education.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 469 by Representative Berry, the 56th, Westbrook of the 163rd, Jackson of the 165th, Crawford of the 89th, Howell of the 50th, and others. Bill be titled an Act to Amend Part 3 of Article 4, Chapter 11, and Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to carrying and possession of firearms.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 470 by Representative Berry, the 56th, Sanchez of the 42nd, Roman of the 97th, Park of the 107th, Cannon of the 58th, and others. Bill be titled an Act to Amend Article 5 of Chapter 11 and Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to offenses involving illegal aliens.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 470.
Mr. Clerk, if you'll suspend just for a moment. Members, if you would like to greet Congressman Collins, he's going to be in the South Ante room for a few minutes. He has a few minutes to spend with us, so if you would like to greet him and get a photo, he'll be glad to oblige you. Mr. Clerk.
House Bill 471 by Representative Chokas of the 151st, Dubnik of the 29th, Green of the 154th, Hawkins and the 27th, Bear to the 24th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to regulation of hospitals.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 472 by Representative Jaspers, the 11th, Crow of the 118th, Stevens the 164th, Holcomb of the 101st, New of the 40th, and others. Bill being titled an act to amend Code Section 16, 11, 127 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to carrying of weapons.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 473 by Representative Stevens, the 164th, Hawkins, the 27th, Newton of the 127th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 13 and Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to controlled substances.
Health.
House Bill 474 by Representative Stevens, the 164th. The bill be titled an act to amend Code Section 48, 13, 51 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to county and municipal levies.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 475 by Representative Gamble of the 15th, McDonald the 3rd of the 26th, Wade of the 9th, Hong of the 103rd, Blackman of the 146th, and others. Bill be titled Act to amend Code Section 48.7, 40.26 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to income tax credits for film.
Creative Arts and Entertainment.
House Bill 476 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, Petrie of the 166th, Franklin of the 160th. A bill being titled Act to provide a homestead exemption from Bryan County School District ad valorem taxes.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 477 by Representative Bazemore of the 69th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Crawford of the 89th, Bennett of the 94th, Kendrick of the 95th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 9 of Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to regulation of rates and underwriting rules.
Insurance.
House Bill 478 by Representative Kendrick of the 95th. A bill be titled Act to amend Part 2 of Article 15 of Chapter 1, Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to Fair Business Practices Act.
Technology and Infrastructure Innovation.
House Bill 479 by Representative Carson of the 46th, Dubnik of the 29th, Kelly of the 16th, Carpenter of the 4th, Crow of the 118th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 7, and Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to imposition rate computation exemptions and credits relative to income taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 480 by Representative Jones of the 143rd, Hughley of the 141st, McQueen of the 61st, Williams of the 168th, McLean of the 109th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 481 by Representative Kelly of the 16th, Leverett of the 123rd, Saints of the 180th, Smith of the 18th, Draper of the 90th. Bill be titled Act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 482 by Representative Kelly of the 16th, Silcox of the 53rd, Evans of the 57th, and Smith of the 18th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 6 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to general provisions regarding superior courts.
Judiciary.
House Bill 483 by Representative Prince of the 132nd, Leverett of the 123rd, Smith of the 18th, Reeves of the 99th, Roberts of the 52nd, and others. A bill being titled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 5 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to assault and battery.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 484 by Representative Yurt of the 152nd, Illustration of the 104th, Scoggins of the 14th, Anderson of the 10th, and Leverett of the 123rd. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 28 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to the General Assembly.
Code Revision.
House Bill 485 by Representative Yurt of the 152nd, Illustration of the 104th, Scoggins of the 14th, Smith of the 18th, Barrett of the 24th. Bill be titled an act to amend the Official Code of Georgia, annotated so as to repeal various provisions enacted prior to 2013.
Code revision.
House Bill 486 by Representative Hong of the 103rd, Werkheiser of the 157th, Franklin of the 160th, Stevens of the 164th, Parker of the 107th, and others. The bill be titled and act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding state government.
State Planning and Community Affairs.
House Bill 487 by Representative Ballard of the 147th, Dubnik of the 29th, Thomas of the 21st, Jones of the 25th, Hilton of the 48th. Bill be titled and act to amend Part 2 of Article 6 of Chapter 2, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to competencies and core curriculum under the Quality Basic Education Act.
Education.
House Bill 488 by Representative Westbrook of the 163rd, Miller of the 62nd, Oliver of the 84th, Lim of the 98th, Park of the 107th, and others. Bill be titled and act to amend Article 3, Chapter 2A, and Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to perinatal facilities.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 489 by Representative Westbrook of the 163rd, Miller of the 62nd, Oliver of the 84th, Lim of the 98th, Park of the 107th, and others. Bill be titled and act to amend Chapter 2A, Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Department of Public Health.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 490 by Representative Bazemore of the 69th, Hughley of the 141st, Park of the 107th, Miller of the 62nd, and Evans of the 57th. Bill be titled and act to amend Article 3, Chapter 5 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to kidnapping and false imprisonment.
Economic Development and Tourism.
House Bill 491 by Representative Chastain of the 7th, Rose of the 124th, Howard of the 71st, Mathis of the 133rd, Ridley the 6th, and others. Bill be titled and act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 and Article 2, Chapter 4, Title 27 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to hunting and non-commercial fishing.
Game, Fish, and Parks.
House Bill 492 by Representative Crowe, the 118th, and Stevens, the 164th. Bill be titled and act to amend Code Section 48, 13, 51 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to county and municipal levies.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 493 by Representative Howard of the 71st, Huddleston of the 72nd, Ridley the 6th, Mathis of the 133rd, Ford of the 170th, and others. Bill be titled and act to amend Article 3, Chapter 3 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to other state symbols.
Special Rules.
House Bill 494 by Representative McLean of the 109th, Hefner of the 130th, Okoye of the 102nd, Alexander of the 66th, and Taylor of the 92nd. Bill be titled and act to amend Part 4 of Article 13 and Chapter 6 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to mopeds.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 496 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Miller of the 62nd, Ridley the 22nd, Jackson the 68th, and Kendrick of the 95th. Bill be titled and act to amend Article 2, Chapter 4, Title 17 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to arrests by law enforcement officers.
Judiciary Non-Civil.
House Bill 497 by Representative Clark of the 108th, Miller of the 62nd, Ridley the 22nd, Jackson the 68th, Kendrick of the 95th. Bill be titled and act to amend Article 3, Chapter 5 of Title 42 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to conditions of detention generally.
Public Safety and Homeland Security.
House Bill 498 by Representative Hefner of the 103rd, 30th, Howard of the 129th, Miles of the 126th, Newton of the 127th, and Prince of the 132nd. Bill be titled and act to authorize the governing authority of Augusta-Richmond County to levy an excise tax.
Intergovernmental Coordination.
House Bill 499 by Representative Buckner of the 137th, Schofield of the 63rd, Westbrook of the 163rd, Bernal of the 77th, Bennett of the 94th, and others. Bill be titled and act to amend Chapter 8 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to sales and use taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 500 by Representative Smith of the 18th, Cooper of the 45th, Camp of the 135th, Hilton of the 48th, Schofield of the 63rd. Bill be titled act to amend Article 9 of Chapter 4, Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to Temporary Assistance for Needy Families Act.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 501 by Representative Draper of the 90th, Miles of the 126th, Campbell of the 35th, Griffin of the 149th, and Roberts of the 52nd. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2, Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 502 by Representative Draper of the 90th, LaHood of the 175th, Fleming of the 114th, Camp of the 135th, Leverett of the 123rd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 503 by Representative Draper of the 90th, Griffin of the 149th, Campbell of the 35th, and Miles of the 126th. The bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 2 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to elections and primaries generally.
Governmental Affairs.
House Bill 504 by Representative Momtahan of the 17th. The bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to selling and other trade practices.
Regulated Industries.
House Bill 505 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Donatucci of the 105th, and Barrett of the 24th. Bill be titled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to education.
Education.
House Bill 506 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Mathiak of the 82nd, Silcox of the 53rd, and Stevens of the 164th. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 7, Chapter 4, Title 49 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to medical assistance generally.
Public and Community Health.
House Bill 507 by Representative Campbell of the 135th, Powell of the 33rd, Stevens of the 164th, Trenner of the 85th, Gullett of the 19th. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 46 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to electrical service.
Energy, Utilities, and Telecommunications.
House Resolution 272 by Representative Glaze of the 67th, Dickey of the 134th, Townsend of the 179th, Paris of the 142nd, Campbell of the 35th, and others. A resolution encouraging the United States Congress to adopt legislation.
Special Rules.
House Resolution 273 by Representative Hong of the 103rd, Year of the 152nd, Franklin of the 160th, Stevens of the 164th, Park of the 170th, and others. A resolution designating the city.
State Planning and Community Affairs.
House Resolution 274 by Representative Westbrook of the 163rd, Miller of the 62nd, Oliver of the 84th, Lim of the 98th, Parks of the 107th, and others. A resolution urging the General Assembly to appropriate an additional $2 million annually.
Appropriations.
House Resolution 275 by Representative Glaze of the 67th, McQueen of the 61st, and Dawson of the 65th. A resolution supporting an increase in the minimum school dropout age from 16 to 17.
Education.
House Resolution 276 by Representative Campbell of the 35th, Hughley of the 141st, Miller of the 62nd, Bennett of the 94th, Westbrook of the 163rd, and others. A resolution to commemorate the Equal Rights Amendment.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 52 by Senator Goodman of the 8th, Kennedy of the 18th, Tillery of the 19th, Gooch of the 51st, Jones of the 22nd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to ad valorem taxation of property.
Ways and Means.
Senate Bill 58 by Senator Albers of the 56th, Huffstetler of the 52nd, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Watson of the 1st, Kennedy of the 18th, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Chapter 11 of Title 31 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to emergency medical services.
Health.
Senate Bill 81 by Senator Brass of the 6th, Walker of the 20th, Summers of the 13th, Kennedy of the 18th, Jones of the 22nd, and others. Bill be titled an act to amend Article 22 of Chapter 1 of Title 10 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to motor vehicle franchise practices.
Regulated Industries.
That completes first readers.
Members, if I can have your attention, please. You know, it's always a special day when home folks come to see you. I want to introduce my congressman from the 12th Congressional District. No applause. Congressman Rick Allen. Congressman Allen is a consummate advocate for Georgia.
Yes.
He's from Augusta, you do live in Richmond County, don't you? Or Columbia, Richmond County.
Born and raised in Columbia.
Born and raised in Columbia County. But he has been a champion to make sure that Georgia has been treated fairly on our disaster relief. And he's continuing to do just that. He's a champion for agriculture. He's a champion for economic development in all aspects. He's a successful businessman. He understands the value of a dollar. I want to ask you all to help me welcome to the People's House in Georgia our friend from Richmond County, the 12th Congressional District, and a friend in Washington, D.C. as well, Congressman Rick Allen. Thank you for being here, Congressman. You ready, Ryan? Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 440 by Representative Clark of the 100th, Werkheiser of the 157th, Prince of the 132nd, Mathiak of the 82nd, Carpenter of the 4th, and others. A bill relating to offenses against public health and morals, regulation of controlled substance, and general provisions relative to the Department of Public Health. House Bill 441 by Representative Donahue of the 31st, Carpenter of the 4th, Byrd of the 20th, Mathis of the 133rd, Kelly of the 16th, and others. A bill relating to crimes and offenses. House Bill 442 by Representative Reese of the 140th, Stevens of the 164th, Tanzen of the 179th, Burnell of the 77th, and Herring of the 145th, a bill relating to compulsory attendance for students in elementary and secondary education. House Bill 443 by Representative Petrie of the 166th, Rhodes of the 124th, Deloach of the 167th, Stevens of the 164th, Franklin of the 160th, and others, a bill relating to license, permit, tag, and stamp fees. House Bill 444 by Representative Silcox of the 53rd, Gaines of the 120th, Jones of the 47th, Reeves of the 99th, and Hilton of the 48th, a bill relating to holidays and observances. House Bill 445 by Representative Martin of the 49th, a bill relating to ad valorem taxation of property. House Bill 446 by Representative Ridley of the 22nd, Gullett of the 19th, Werkheiser of the 157th, Barton of the 5th, Parsons of the 44th, and others, a bill relating to investigations and hearings of the Public Service Commission. House Bill 447 by Representative Gullett of the 19th, Jones of the 25th, Evans of the 57th, Chastain of the 7th, Barrett of the 24th, a bill relating to fraud and related offenses. House Bill 448 by Representative Chastain of the 7th, a bill to abolish the office of elected county surveyor of Gilmer County. House Bill 449 by Representative Rhodes of the 124th, Ridley of the 6th, Hitchens of the 161st, Smith of the 70th, Williams of the 148th, and others, a bill relating to public utilities and public transportation. House Bill 450 by Representative Stevens of the 164th, a bill relating to general provisions regarding probate. House Bill 451 by Representative Cannon of the 172nd, Rhodes of the 124th, Irwin of the 32nd, Dubnick of the 29th, Corbett of the 174th, a bill relating to other educational programs under the Quality Basic Education Act. House Bill 452 by Representative Roberts of the 52nd, Lupton of the 83rd, Campbell of the 35th, Westbrook of the 163rd, Berry of the 56th, and others, a bill relating to carrying and possession of firearms. House Bill 453 by Representative Roberts of the 52nd, Panish of the 51st, Campbell of the 35th, Berry of the 56th, Herring of the 145th, a bill relating to dangerous instrumentalities and practices. House Bill 454 by Representative Gaines of the 120th, Wiedauer of the 121st, Rhodes of the 124th, Ridley of the 6th, Richardson of the 125th, and others, a bill relating to parks, historic areas, memorials, and recreation. House Bill 455 by Representative Powell of the 33rd, McDonald of the 26th, Dubnick of the 29th, Carpenter of the 4th, Newton of the 127th, and others, a bill relating to bingo. House Bill 456 by Representative Wilkerson of the 38th, Alexander of the 66th, Buckner of the 137th, Jones of the 25th, Kelly of the 16th, and others, a bill relating to ad valorem taxation of property. House Bill 457 by Representative Horner of the 3rd, Powell of the 33rd, Carpenter of the 4th, Ridley of the 22nd, Jaspers of the 11th, a bill relating to occupational therapists. House Bill 458 by Representative Cummings of the 39th, Crow of the 118th, Hitchens of the 161st, New of the 40th, Neal of the 79th, and others, a bill relating to schedules, offenses, and penalties regarding controlled substances. House Bill 459 by Representative Carter of the 93rd, Schofield of the 63rd, Bennett of the 94th, Hughley of the 141st, Lim of the 98th, and others. A bill relating to general provisions regarding health. House Bill 462 by Representative Hagan of the 156th. A bill to authorize Toombs County to exercise all redevelopment and other powers under the Redevelopment Powers Law. House Bill 463 by Representative Blackman of the 146th, Burns of the 159th, Hatchett of the 155th, Gilliard of the 162nd, Stevens of the 164th, and others. A bill relating to tax exemptions. House Bill 464 by Representative Bell of the 75th, Cahan of the 81st, Barry of the 56th, Byrd of the 20th, Sanchez of the 42nd. A bill relating to justification and excuse relative to defense of criminal prosecutions. House Bill 465 by Representative Gilliard of the 162nd, Hitchens of the 161st, Neal of the 79th, Stevens of the 164th, Sharper of the 177th, and others. A bill relating to statewide alert system for missing disabled adults. House Bill 466 by Representative Cameron of the 1st, Williams of the 168th, Stevens of the 164th, Petrie of the 166th, Reeves of the 99th, a bill relating to other state symbols. House Bill 495 by Representative Dickey of the 134th, Burns of the 159th, Meeks of the 178th, Hagan of the 156th, Green of the 154th, and others. A bill relating to education. House Resolution 257 by Representative Hughley of the 141st, Park of the 107th, Miller of the 62nd, Fry of the 122nd, Alexander of the 66th, and others. A resolution creating and authorizing the House Special Committee on Oversight of Federal Funds. House Bill Resolution 258 by Representative Hilton of the 48th, Sains of the 180th, Mathiak of the 82nd, Clark of the 100th, Donatucci of the 105th, and others. A resolution applying to the United States Congress to call a convention under Article 5 of the Constitution of the United States. Senate Bill 21 by Senator Tillery of the 19th, Brass of the 6th, Walker of the 20th, Harbin of the 16th, Burns of the 23rd, and others. A bill relating to general provisions applicable to counties, municipal corporations, other governmental entities. Senate Bill 44 by Senator Watson of the 11th, Goodman of the 8th, Summers of the 13th, Hostetler of the 52nd, Kennedy of the 18th, and others. A bill relating to equalization grants, annual calculations, and allocations. Senate Bill 76 by Senator Eccles of the 49th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, Payne of the 54th, Brass of the 6th, Summers of the 13th, and others. A bill relating to license plates promoting or supporting certain agencies, funds, or nonprofit corporations. Senate Bill 99 by Senator Robertson of the 29th, Albers of the 56th, Bairden of the 30th, Summers of the 13th, Hickman of the 4th, and others. A bill relating to definitions relative to crimes and offenses. Through second readers.
Reports of standing committees, the clerk will read.
Representative Rhodes, the 124th District Chairman of the Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Game, Fish, and Parks has had under its consideration following bills of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 115, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 167, due pass. House Bill 287, due pass. Respectfully submitted, Representative Rhodes of the 124th District Chairman. Representative Sharon Cooper of the 45th District, Chairman on Committee on Public and Community Health, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Public and Community Health has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It's instructed me to report the same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 352, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Sharon Cooper of the 45th District, Chairman. Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman on Committee on Ways and Means, submitted the following report. Mr. Speaker, your Committee on Ways and Means has had under its consideration the following bills of the House. It's instructed me to report same back to the House with the following recommendations. House Bill 52, due pass. House Bill 79, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 136, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 134, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 153, due pass. House Bill 141, due pass by committee substitute. House Bill 169, due pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Representative Shaw Blackman of the 146th District, Chairman. That completes the reading of the reports of standing committees.
All right, members, we have a number of guests in the gallery, and we're going to recognize some of them beginning right now. So please give the group that's going to be in the well, Representative Davis, Representative Newton, and Representative Osteen. You guys are recognized for a morning order. Okay, members. Give you a chance to focus down as we're going to talk about a little bit of health care.
280, right? 280.
Big day for the House.
Yes.
All right, Representative Osteen, you're
Thank you,
recognized.
Speaker. Can I have the legislators that are in here that are writing bills for nursing to come on up here too? I know Representative Kelly is here.
Any nursing bills?
Yeah,
Any
that's
nursing
right.
bills?
Today is a great day in the Capitol. If you will look over here to my left, I don't know if there are any other nurses, got some over here to the right too. Y'all stand up. Today is Nurse Day on Capitol Hill in Atlanta. We are so honored to have y'all here today. I want you to know that 28 years ago, I graduated from nursing school, and yes. How about that? Shocking. Yes, shocking. I was 2 years old at the time. I'm teasing. It's so great to have y'all here today. As I wanted to leave y'all with a quote that the founder of modern nursing, Florence Nightingale, said. It's a great quote, and it's one that we need to live by. If I can get my phone to open. There we go. Let us never consider ourselves finished nurses. We must be learning all of our lives. We are doing our best to continue learning, and we're doing our best to continue moving the needle forward for nurses. So thank you for being here. Thank you for advocating, and go get them.
Thank you, Representative.
You sure?
Dr. Newton, you know, doctors are pretty important, aren't they? Well, they are. You doctors are. But not nearly as important as our nurses. Thank you for what y'all do for us. We appreciate you all. I think you'll agree with me there, wouldn't you, Doc? Think you would. Thank you. Chairman Carson, you're recognized for another important morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could have graduates of Kennesaw State University up here with me. Kennesaw State. You know where it is? Thank you, Representative.
Kennesaw.
Well, I'll tell you even more about that. I received my master's in business from Kennesaw State a few years ago. It's just a fantastic organization. By the way, it is just about, I think it's pretty close to being the second largest university in our state, right behind Georgia State, larger than the University of Georgia. Mr. Speaker, this fall, KSU welcomed the largest freshman class in the state with enrollment of 48,000 total students. So as part of Kennesaw State Day at the Capitol, we're also focusing on Kennesaw having 150,000 alumni worldwide, with 89%, get that, 89% of our graduates choosing to stay in Georgia to build their lives and their careers right here in our great state. KSU is a top producer of bachelor's-ready education and nursing graduates in Georgia, and home to our second largest computing, engineering, and business programs in the state. We have a group of KSU students in the gallery. Where are they? Right over there in the front. Come on, stand up, guys. Join me in recognizing Kennesaw State Day at the Capitol.
Go Owls.
Hooty hoo, Mr. Speaker.
Good to have y'all. One of our great institutions of higher learning, Kennesaw State. Congratulations on the great success that y'all are having there. Chair Lady Cooper, you're recognized for a morning order. Let's get a little bit of a lady will just hold up just for a minute. I bet all of y'all would like to have folks pay attention to your morning orders. So I invite you to extend that same courtesy to the member in the well. Chair Lady Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everybody. Today is Co-Responder Day at the Capitol. And you may be asking yourself, what is a co-responder and what kind of program do they have? You may have forgotten that as we work to improve care of our mentally ill across our state, we came up with a program that puts co-responders, it puts mental health professionals with our law enforcement. And when a 911 call goes out and comes in, and it's a mental health or somebody's acting erratically and or threatening suicide, with the police, a mental health professional will go out with a responding officer. This has been transformative in how we do our mental health when it comes to public safety, and they have made great strides. They have saved lives with people that were threatening to suicide, and right at the moment of fixing to complete the act. And so they have really been a great help to our state. And I would like to thank them for going out in very difficult situations, very emotional, very toxic situations, and calming them down and saving unnecessary trips to the hospital, getting more appropriate care for people in crisis, and making sure that we're not arresting people that have mental health problems. So thank you to any co-responders. If you're there, stand up. Thank you for all that you do for us. Yay! Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you, Chairman Jones, as well. Welcome to the People's House. Thank you for what you guys are doing for so many Georgians. We appreciate it. Representative Herring and other friends from Macon and Bibb County, right down a little bit south on 75 and I-16. Let's see, some other folks from Bibb County and Macon. The lady is recognized.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Today I rise with great pride to introduce House Resolution 183, honoring the Macon Violence Prevention MVP program, a groundbreaking initiative that is changing lives and making our community safer. Macon-Bibb County, like many areas across our state, has faced heartbreaking realities of violent crimes. But rather than accept the status quo, our community took action. Through a series of neighborhood meetings and extensive community input, residents voiced their concerns, shared their lived experiences, and helped shape a solution that truly reflects the needs of most affected. MVP was born under the leadership of our Mayor, Lester Miller, Sheriff David Davis, District Attorney Anita Howard, and a coalition of law enforcement, public health experts, nonprofits, and community advocates. A bold, comprehensive approach to preventing violent crimes in Macon, Georgia. Today, we have our MVP recipients in our galley here, and we also have our Mayor, Lester Miller. Please welcome them to the Capitol today. If you would please stand. Thank you for all your work to making sure our communities are safe in Macon-Bibb County. We appreciate you. Thank you, Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you for your work. Thanks for being here, and thanks for that morning order to let us know what's going on down in Macon. Very positive. Representative Beckles. Here she comes. Give the lady in the well your attention, please. The lady will suspend just for a moment. Let's get this photo. Ladies recognized and friends. Lady, hold on. Well, she'll pause just for a moment. We have some more friends coming. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. In line with the chaplain of the day, it's Wisdom Wednesday. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Coach Ken Alman and the Norcross Running Club. His vision of building a culture of movement in our community is truly coming to life right before our eyes in 4 levels. What started as just junior runners at Baldwin Elementary, Summer Middle School, and Norcross High School has now expanded to include parents. The only parent he can't get to run is me. With nearly 100 members, they continue to be outstanding ambassadors for our schools, community, county, and the state. They have earned several competition wins and capped off the fall season with a trip to Louisville, Kentucky to compete in the nationals. And finally, a huge congratulations to Coach Alman. He will be inducted into the Norcross Hall of Fame later this year, an honor well deserved. Let's give Coach Alman and the Norcross Running Club a big round of applause. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Did they run down here today? Good to have y'all in the people's house. Thank you for taking care of yourselves and being very active and robust and running great. So congratulations on your success. Representative Carlton Howard and Representative Hefner are recognized to recognize some veterans. Yeah, there he is. Got both of them.
Can I have all the members of the Augusta delegation and Greater Augusta delegation?
Greater and Augusta delegation, please join the team in the well.
Good morning, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we rise to honor the veterans from the Augusta area. If you're in the galley, please stand. We actually have two groups. One group is on the Senate side, and one group is on our side. Thank you so much for your visit today. We wanted to honor you to show you our support for veterans and military families in the great state of Georgia. Thank you so much. Mr. Speaker, I yield the well, sir.
Ladies yielded. Thank you for your service and thank you for being here with us today. And safe travels when you head back to Augusta. Chairman Irwin and Chairman Anderson recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, we'd like to recognize today the Habersham Chamber of Commerce Leadership Habersham 2025 group that's here. This is a combination of leaders from 20 different businesses, civic organizations, and seniors from our Habersham Central High School. So they're in the gallery. If y'all would stand and let us recognize you today, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all for being with us. A great day to be in the people's house. Representative Dubnik and Representative Schofield. Representative Schofield. She's on the way.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, today is Reach Out and Read Day at the Capitol. You all have a book on your desk. Ridley will be holding reading sessions in just a little while. But y'all, this is an organization that I'm very proud to support. Representative Schofield and I want to recognize this is our 0 to 3 literacy effort where books are given to families at annual pediatric well visits. So this is a program that's been so successful. This is one of our solutions to literacy here in Georgia. We'd like to thank our friends in the gallery. If you are here, if you could stand up and let us recognize you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Get them started right. They're good. Stay right. Reading. So do we need to help you publicize the opportunity to receive those books? Let's make sure the membership knows how we need to do that. Representative Mac Jackson recognized for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I rise to greet students from John Hancock Academy in Hancock County. If you're in the gallery, won't you rise so that we can recognize you? There they are in that corner there. Colleagues, won't you help me to recognize John Hancock Academy from Hancock County? Thank you for being at your Georgia State Capitol. If you'll come down to the ante room, we'll take some photos together. I yield the well.
Welcome to our friends from Sparta, Georgia, John Hancock. I thought that's where y'all were from. It's good to have you. If you come down to the third floor, representative meet you in this ante room. We'll get some photos with you. Thank y'all for being here. Representative Carmen Rice is recognized, and others from Columbus. I guess what? They also love Columbus State, don't they? Some nursing students here. All the folks from Columbus. Give the minority leader a second to get here, so we won't. And Representative Buckner. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Speaker. I would like to recognize we have with us our Columbus State University School of Nursing students who are members of the College of Education and Health Professionals Legislative Initiatives. That's a student-led advocacy organization. They wrote and received a $1,500 grant to be able to be with us today. And so I'd like to recognize them. If you would stand, please. They are also joined by Assistant Professor in the Graduate Nursing Program, Chandler Paget, and Assistant Professor, Dr. Teresa Peterson. Thank you. And if you come to the third floor into this room, and we'll get photos. Thank you.
South ante room, they'll join you there. Great school, Columbus State.
I did that again. Representative Smith wants us to do it again. He missed it.
I was looking for you. You can get in the photo, though, Representative Smith. Representative Chokus and Representative Stinson. Y'all give the lady some room, get it down that center aisle, or you'll suffer the consequences. She'll run over you. The lady and the gentleman are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, on the left. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is America's Sumter County Day at the Capitol, and we have a group of leaders that are here representing our wonderful community. I can't list them all. There's a list of about 30 or 40, but I am going to name a few off the top of my head. Chairman David Baldwin, the Chairman of the County Commissioners, Mayor Lee Kinnaman, Mayor of Americus, Mayor Brandon Gross, the Mayor of Andersonville. We got Dr. Michelle Johnston, the President of Georgia Southwestern State University, the great university. Carlisle Walton, who is CEO of Phoebe Sumter, and Chief Mark Scott, the Chief of Police of Americus, Georgia. And, of course, my friend, my dear friend, Sheriff Eric Bryant, the Sheriff of Sumter County. Would y'all please stand so we can recognize you? These are great citizens of our community, our leaders, and we're very, very proud of them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go Americus, Georgia, Southwest Georgia.
Thank you. I yield well.
That completes our morning. Representative Chastain, if your group gets here, we'll recognize them a little bit later. Members, we'll move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 3838?
House Bill 38 by Representative Martin of the 49th and others to be entitled an act to amend subpart 2A of part 3 of Article 7 of Chapter 3, Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to needs-based financial aid program so as to revise the definition of eligible student. This bill having referred to the Committee on Higher Education, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Martin is recognized to present House Bill 38. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something we've seen before. We're trying to extend and right-size the completion grant that's been very successful in the state of Georgia. I can get into the details. Many of you have seen it before, but in the interest of brevity, Mr. Speaker, I would just tell you that House Bill 38 seeks to right-size the thresholds for a 4-year program. You can be involved at 70% if you're complete. In a 2-year program, 45% complete, and will extend the sunset to June 30th, 2023. We're having outstanding success. Over almost 15,000 students have been helped to get across the finish line. If there are no questions, Mr. Speaker, I will ask this House to vote in favor of this as we have the last 2 years and move this over to the Senate. No questions, I'll yield the
The gentleman has yielded the will because he has no questions. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of House Bill 38, the yeas are 169, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 117?
House Bill 117 by Representative Petrie, the 166th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Article 13 of Chapter 2, Title 26 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to food service establishments so as to require notification of the country of origin of seafood items. This bill having referred to the Committee on Agriculture and Consumer Affairs. That committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
The gentleman from the coast is recognized to present the bill. Representative Petrie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you House Bill 117. This bill, very simply,
gentlemen, suspend just for a minute. This is a reported bill. This bill means a lot to coastal Georgia. Gentleman's record.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a consumer transparency bill, my friends, and what it does very simply, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment, what it does very simply is require that food service restaurants, food service establishments that are commercial, on their menu or in a conspicuous location in that restaurant, identify if the shrimp they're serving are imported. So let me tell you why this is necessary. Folks, the number one most consumed seafood in our country are shrimp. We consume over 1.3 billion pounds of shrimp a year. That's over 6 pounds per person. 94% of the shrimp consumed in this country are imported. Sadly, when we have the safest, cleanest fishery in the world. Where are they coming from? Primarily India, China, Ecuador, Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. And those countries simply do not adhere to our health standards. There's no way around that. I can't get into the detail, but I will tell you this. The FDA inspects 0.7% of foreign imported shrimp. 0.7%. And that which they do inspect has dramatically higher failure rates. Last year alone, 81 shipments of imported shrimp were returned because they had antibiotics in them. A simple Google search will find you that particularly India and Vietnam, two of our leading importers, are notorious for having antibiotics in their shrimp. Now, you might ask, why antibiotics? Well, I'm glad you asked, because here's what we do in those countries importing shrimp. These shrimp never see an ocean, folks. We call them seafood. They live in man-made ponds. They swim in shallow ponds in their own feces. They get diseases, and so what do? We feed them antibiotics. There is no comparison to domestic shrimp to imported shrimp. And I'm going to give you a quote here, and I'm going to move on. The FDA achieves less than 5% of congressionally mandated inspections on foreign food facilities. China doesn't even allow, in many instances, us to inspect their foreign food facilities, but we continue to import from there. So what does this bill do? Consumers can eat shrimp from anywhere they want. I believe in freedom. I want folks to eat shrimp from anywhere they want. And likely, if you've been out at night here in the last few weeks, you've been eating shrimp, it's imported. But I will tell you this, here's what I want. I want consumers to know what they're eating. And so when you go in a restaurant and you're feeding your family or your children, if that shrimp is imported, I want you to know what that is. I believe that's right and just. And that is what this measure does very simply, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, with that, I'm glad to answer any question.
You have a couple of questions. Representative Jasmine Clark to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am, I yield.
I want to clarify. So you said that the majority of the shrimp that we consume comes from these other countries. And so my first question is, are there a lot of people getting sick from this, or is there a public health issue associated with this labeling?
No, good question, Representative. So, Representative, people continue to eat this seafood, so I cannot say that anybody's getting sick. What I can tell you is there are things in imported shrimp that are not allowed in domestic shrimp, and that we don't allow in domestic products. So we could say that about a lot of products, but I can't tell you concretely that they're making people sick. No, ma'am.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, ma'am.
You actually teed me up for my second question, which is, this bill is very specific for shrimp, but are there other foods that we are getting from other countries that maybe don't, I guess, align with the standards that you are speaking of?
Representative, I believe the answer to that is yes. This bill began as a bill that related to all seafood and menus that stated country of origin. In the committee process, this is what we produced, which I stand by. But yes, I think there's a multitude of imports where countries have different health standards than we do in this country that should well be looked at going forward.
Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the
gentleman yield.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker.
Representative Adesanya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
You mentioned countries like China, India, Indonesia. Do you know that your average consumer don't even care about where the shrimp come from? When they look on the menu and ordering food, the origin of the food or the shrimp is not deterring anyone from ordering. Isn't that true? Do you know that?
I'm trying to understand. Is your question that people don't care where their shrimp is from? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, when you sit at a restaurant and you're looking at a food menu and you see shrimp coming from China or Indonesia, do you know that average consumer going to the restaurant don't even care about that?
Well, Representative, I guess we'll find out in a moment when we take this vote if consumers care about that. I think we're talking about giving consumers the opportunity to know whether their shrimp is imported or domestic. And I can't answer. As a consumer, I would like to know that. That's the only way I can answer that question. Any other questions, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, sir. You have a whole list of them. How about you have a question from someone else that has an interest from the coast?
Oh, yeah.
Chairman Saines to your left has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
I yield.
Is it not true that a lot of attention has been given to our north border and our south border, but this is an attention to something very important to our east border, which is the wild Georgia shrimp that hard-working shrimpers have caught, and they know many of their consumers care about those products?
Representative, thank you for that. That is correct. Our shrimping fleet is 10% of what it was. It is almost gone. We have a vestige of our shrimping fleet. It's been destroyed by foreign dumping of imports, and I think that's sad. But yeah, this is hopefully will be helpful for consumers to know what they're eating, so maybe they can ask for other products if they so choose.
Does the gentleman yield for one more question?
One more, sir.
Is it not true that a Consumer Reports study in 2015 found that frozen shrimp from imported countries had 60% sampling of Salmonella and Listeria? And I would believe that every Georgia consumer would have a lot of interest in ensuring that their families, their children are protected against such public health harms.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you. Thank you for the point.
Gentlemen, yield to the chairman of the committee from which this legislation came. The gentleman yield?
Yes, sir. I'll yield for one last.
Chairman Dickey, the chairman of the Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The gentleman yield.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Isn't it true? Thank you for this good legislation. Isn't it true that our taxpayer money, foreign aid to some of these countries where this shrimp is being grown, has been used for direct competition to our domestic shrimp industry, leading to this oversupply? And I appreciate this legislation to try to give our local shrimpers, Georgia shrimpers, a level playing field to work on.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. It was recently discovered that our own foreign aid has been supporting Ecuadorian pond-raised shrimp to compete against our own fisheries. Thank you for raising that great point. Mr. Speaker, if there are no further questions, I believe I'll yield the will.
You have a lot of questions, and you have some other folks wanting to speak, but that's up to the author. If he's ready to yield, I'm ready to let him.
Mr. Speaker, I think everybody knows what we're trying to do here, and I'll yield the will.
Gentleman's yielded well. We have several people who would like to speak to the measure. Representative Carter is recognized to speak to House Bill 117. Give the lady in the well your attention, please. And then we have two more speakers after her.
All right, thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to say that I will vote for this piece of legislation. I did not vote for it in committee. Now, I think some of the questions that were raised were things that are legitimate. So as we talk about identifying whether shrimp is domestic or foreign, I think when we really get down to it, the bigger issue is how is it produced? Was it in a farm or was it wild? And so what I would hope, if we pass this piece of legislation when it goes over to the Senate, that they add that caveat. And I believe at the end of the day, we do want to support our shrimpers here in Georgia, especially the wild shrimp. But at the same time, if this is really about health, is not necessary, in my opinion, where it came from, but if it's a pond, and if that's where we're identifying where the issue is, then let's add that to this piece of legislation. So we can go to a restaurant and see that it's foreign, it came from a foreign country, but if it was wild, I think the issue is not there. And so in my opinion, we also need to address whether or not it was pond raised, because if we really do the research and study, that's where the issue is. But by no means are we saying stop eating shrimp. They almost caught me in one of those meetings when they started giving explanations. I told the chairman, I said, I think y'all found my favorite subject, and it was food, seafood in particular. But please, if we're going to do this and it really is about health, let's add the measures that really count. Thank you. I yield the will.
Ladies, yield the will. Representative Al Williams, I think he lives down in coastal Georgia, so I understand. Maybe in Liberty County. I think I'm close. Representative Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Some of you have been fortunate enough to enjoy shrimp most of your life. I've been fortunate enough to catch shrimp most of my life. I grew up casting for shrimp and picking oysters. Some of us who served in Vietnam saw the conditions that these shrimp came out of, and it has not changed, I've been assured. There needs to be regulations as to what you're eating. Now, there was an old saying when I was growing up, if it don't kill you, it'll make you fat. I didn't desire to die or get fat. When you harvest shrimp that live in their natural environment where God intended them to live, the oceans and into the inlets where we catch them, they have a natural filtering process that removes a lot of the things that man will put into him once he corrals them and raises them. My experience has been anything that God does and man tries to improve upon is a failure. Shrimp are natural wildlife. And I have a rule in my house that my wife instituted. Only wild-caught shrimp, Georgia shrimp, preferably. I'm an oyster lover. And when I eat oysters here, when possible, if I'm at the Ocean Air, I ask for Macintosh oysters because I know the people who harvest them. Let me tell you this, folks. We can debate this forever. The fact is that it is better for you to eat wild Georgia-caught shrimp. A lot of landlubbers wish they lived closer to the ocean where you didn't even have to freeze those to get them to you. Let me continue by saying, I've listened, I've heard excuses, but when you go in the supermarket or wherever or the fish house, you should know whether or not they're wild-caught Georgia shrimp if you live in Georgia. Then you make your choice. I don't want to find out too late that it made me sick. On the front end, let me err on the side of caution. When I was running for the State House and I was elected 23 years ago, one of the first places I was invited was to a group of folk in Brunswick, Georgia. And I stood up young, and I talked about using a word that was not a bad word then. I wanted to put a tariff on all foreign shrimp until the local shrimpers had exhausted everything they'd caught. Well, I was lucky to get out there with my life and be able to be sworn in, because many of the companies complained that this was the only place they could get enough shrimp to serve. That's always the excuse, folks. Let's use what we have first. You don't have that excuse if you are not a provider. If you're a consumer, you ought to know what you're eating. And you ought to sometimes photograph some things that go on, or get some videos. Everything else is online. I know it's online. How they raise shrimp in India, Vietnam, and China. Don't look at it too close because you won't want to eat any shrimp anymore. Georgia shrimp are safe. But finally, and I say finally, but I'm a Baptist deacon, so that don't mean nothing. But finally, I want you to remember that when I was a boy, some of the best jobs on the coast were in the fishing industry. I was an African-American kid who saw African-American captains of shrimp boats who owned their own shrimp boats, who made a great living and hired people to work on these boats. The imports destroyed this industry, and people who were making a great living were unemployed. And guess what? We helped eat them into unemployment. So whenever you see a former shrimp fisherman say, I helped put him out of business because I ate all these imported shrimp that I have no idea what was in them. Folk, when I go to the vegetable counter, I want to see where the tomatoes were grown. And believe me, if they are not American grown, I don't eat them because I don't know how they were handled and how they came into this country. I urge you to vote yes on this piece of legislation. If you enjoyed last night, the Brunswick Day, that was the taste of real shrimp. You understand? When you go to a reception and the big bowl sitting up there with all the pretty shrimp lining it, if they all the same size, width, and everything, leave them alone because they are farm raised. Representative Buddy Loach and I know what it means to eat real shrimp. And anytime you're tired of phonies, come on down to the coast and we'll treat you to some real shrimp. I yield for questions, Mr. Speaker.
You had a couple. Oh, well, you have one more. I thought you'd talked your way out of them, but I guess you didn't. So
I know they were a little embarrassed.
There's one if the gentleman will yield.
I yield.
Chairlady Smith is recognized for a question.
Gentleman yield.
I yield.
It may help this debate if we Georgia citizens understand the difference between gourmet and gourmand. A gourmet has discerning taste. That's called grown in Georgia. A gourmand eats any blank thing put in front of them.
Would you like to come on up here?
That's a little further explanation. Let's see. We want to get a guy from Middle Georgia, a little ways from the coast. Representative Mac Jackson is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
For my friend, of course.
Is it not true that the water has to taste like cherry wine in order for the shrimp to taste that way?
There stands a scholar and a gentleman. If they're not grown off the coast of Liberty, McIntosh, Bryan, or Camden, they had no idea what it is to swim and live in cherry wine.
I think the gentleman has explained his position very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, I'll yield the well.
That kind of laid it out there. Let's see. We need a little more clarification on how important this bill is to we as consumers and to coastal Georgia. So let's hear from you, Chairman DeLoach. The gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to try to boil this down and not take too much of your time. I watch those shrimp boats normally come by my dock on the Sapelo River daily. I love the scene, but I love those people that work those boats even more. These are people whose families have operated those boats for generations and generations, 6 and 7 generations. It's hard work. They leave early in the morning, in the dark. They're on that water, storms, hot weather, cold weather, they're out there. I can tell you, When those families are gone, nobody else is going to go and do what they do. They do it because it's in their blood, and that's what they've done all these years. And I need to tell you that last year, all of a sudden, the boats weren't coming by my dock. And I went to the docks at Crescent, where they buy those shrimp. And the shrimpers were sitting on the docks, and the boats were tied up. I sat on the end of the dock with them, and they said the market has been flooded with foreign shrimp. That year, they sent us more foreign, pond-grown, septic tank-grown, whatever, shrimp than the total consumption of shrimp in this country. The price at the dock dropped below $1 a pound. That gave them less than half the money it took to pay for the diesel fuel in the boats. There's no shortage of shrimp on the Georgia coast, but when you flood the market with these foreign shrimp, the price drops so low that they have to stop. And if we don't get them back pretty soon, they're gone forever. Over half of those shrimpers live in my district. So let me say this. I think it's two issues. Number one, there is a health issue, and to answer the question we had earlier about are people getting sick, I was told by a member of the medical profession, my seatmate, a doctor, and I have his permission to say this: resistance to bacteria or resistance to those medicines that they put in there to save these shrimp from the bacteria, that resistance that builds up in your body happens over a period of time. It might be years before you even recognize the antibacteria resistance. So health is one issue. The number two issue is, do people in Georgia care enough about hardworking Georgians making a living to protect them from this foreign dumping? It's just that simple. Do Georgians have the right when they go to a restaurant to know what they're eating? If the answer to you is yes, then I hope you'll vote yes on this bill. And Mr. Speaker, I'm going to yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. Thank you all for your perspectives on a very important issue to Georgians. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee substitute? Hearing none, the committee substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose does Chair Lady Camp rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that if I go to the grocery store and buy a bag of frozen shrimp, it clearly states the origin these shrimp came from, but if you go to a restaurant, because that is under the Department of Public Health, you're not really clear where your food came from. So this bill just enables individuals to make choices regarding if they would like to eat Georgia caught shrimp or any shrimp that's domestically here, or imported shrimp.
I'm sure the lady knows of what she speaks. For what purpose does Representative Reese rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't it true that when we travel to other countries, A wise traveler will look at travel advisories to learn what you should and should not do in these places and what you should and should not eat. And shouldn't the reverse of that take impact to where when food is coming here from other locations, we should have the right to know where it comes from so that we can make the educated decision as to whether or not we want to consume it?
Boy, the gentleman's really touched on something very logical there. Thank you for that inquiry. For what purposes Representative Ramon rise?
Oh, no. No, sorry.
For what purpose, Lady Waves, for what purposes Representative Holly rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that while I am voting in favor of this bill because I believe that it's right for situations where a person, if they get sick, for their doctor to be aware of where that item came from, that the vegetarian in me looks at this bill and wonders how we could ever think we couldn't get sick from eating the cousins of roaches.
I'm gonna let you take that up with all these guys from the coast. I'm not getting in that argument. Let's be fair. For what purposes Representative Tran rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that many of these countries, these farms are banned from selling shrimp to their own people, but are allowed to sell it to us?
That kind of sums it up right there. For what purposes Representative McCullum rise?
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Speaker.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that you can prepare shrimp a bunch of different ways? Fried shrimp, shrimp Creole,
The
lemon
gentleman
shrimp,
not
shrimp
recognized.
gumbo, barbecue shrimp.
You look like Bubba Gump just a little bit, I tell you what.
I'm not a smart man, but I love Georgia shrimp.
Mr. Clerk, with that, let's lock the machine. I think I've had enough. On the passage of House Bill 117, the yeas are 165, the nays are 7. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore adopted. Thank you for your comments on the bill. I didn't expect that one. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 148?
House Bill 148 by Representative Carson of the 46th, being entitled an act to amend Chapter 3, Title 43 of the Official Code of Georgia, annotated relating to accountants, so as to revise provisions relating to the education and experience requirements of certified public accountants. This bill having referred to the Committee on Regulated Industries, that committee recommends that this bill do pass.
Chairman Carson's, I apologize. I didn't see that last parliamentary inquiry coming either, but so you'll just have to deal with it from here. The chair is recognized. Representative Carson is recognized to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was telling my friend from Athens, who was just right here, I don't know how to follow that. I'm kind of hungry for a shrimp basket right now, but the folks at House Bill 148, what this does is reform some of our education and mobility statutes in regard to public accountancy. We are facing a massive shortage of accountants. I've seen some reports that from the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg stating that 75% of my brethren that are CPAs, like also my friend from Cobb County, who was co-signer on the bill, 75% of us are within 10 years of retirement. And you think of all the bills that we pass that require audits, city audits, municipal, counties, and so forth, it is going to be a major issue. What House Bill 148 does is adds 2 new routes to licensure. In order to be a CPA, right now you need a 5-year college degree, 1 year of experience, pass the CPA exam. What this would do is allow you to do 4 years of college in accounting or tax, 2 years of experience and obviously pass the exam, in addition to a third way, which is a master's degree under the Regents. The second thing this does is updates our mobility practice requirements in Georgia. It updates it to what so much of the country is also doing. Right now, for example, if you're in North Georgia, you could hire a CPA in Chattanooga to do your taxes, and that's fine. If you had a business in, say, North Georgia, and you wanted to have your CPA in Chattanooga audited, could not happen, because a CPA out of state cannot provide assurance or audit services for a client in Georgia. This will update it. I will say, I've got a map of the United States in regard to all the various states that are doing this, and I apologize I don't have this on the board, but this is a map. About 36 states, possibly 37, are all doing exactly what we're doing with House Bill 148 because of the workforce issues that we have, stressing different pathways for young people to become a CPA but still be licensed and qualified, as secondly, to have an update to our mobility statute. With that, Mr. Speaker, I don't think I would have as many questions as a shrimp bill, but I'm happy to take a question if there is one.
You do have a question. If the gentleman will yield, I think you have a question from someone in the profession. Representative Wilkerson is recognized for a question to your left in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, to my friend.
Thank you very much for bringing this bill. Is it not true that this is a result of many hours of work by CPAs across the state and across the country, actually?
Absolutely it is. My friend from Cobb County knows this to be true. Absolutely.
Does the gentleman yield for one more question?
Yes, sir.
Is it not true that this would give the same path that myself and as well as others my age took with the 4 years and 2 years of work experience, and we are some pretty decent CPAs?
Yes, that's true. And actually, I'm in that same group because I was grandfathered in before these rules were changed in '98, and we're changing this back. Hey, Mr. Speaker, I just want to recognize the work of Mr. Boyd Search. He's the president and CEO of the Society of CPAs. Paul Ziga across the street, the State Board of Accountancy. Emerly Farrell, who's a partner with PricewaterhouseCoopers. She is the chair of the State Board of Accountancy. And today we're also joined by Catherine Fletcher. She's the chair of the Georgia Society of CPAs right up there in the gallery. With that, Mr. Speaker, I would appreciate this body's favorable consideration.
You have no further questions.
Okay, I will take a question.
No, you have no further questions.
Okay, I would ask for this body's favorable consideration, and I yield the will.
Gentlemen's yield to the will. I think you both are pretty well proven CPAs, so we appreciate y'all's service to your communities and to your clients. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question's ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machines? Have all members voted? All members voted. If so, the clerk will lock the machine on the passage of House Bill 148. The yeas are 172. The nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to House Bill 162?
House Bill 162 by Representative Hagan and the 156 and others to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 3 of Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation so as to provide for the restriction and seal of First Offender Act sentences until such status is revoked. This bill I'm referred to the Committee on Judiciary and Non-Civil. That committee recommends that this bill do pass. by committee substitute.
Representative Lisa Hagan is recognized to present the bill. Give the lady in the wheel your attention, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. I have here House Bill 162, the first offender modernization bill that we had in this chamber last year, and we voted it out 155 to 0. We brought it back this year for necessary reasons, and it hasn't really changed since last year. If you weren't here and you don't know, Georgia's first offender act was put in place in the 1960s, and it was done so to give people who make an isolated, very bad decision, or not so bad decision as it might be, the chance to not have that conviction follow them the rest of their life. We don't want anybody who has made an isolated mistake to, for the rest of their life, not be able to find good housing, get a good job to support their family, any other reason why a person might not want to have these court documents available. And actually, in case you did not know this, if someone pleads first offender and they successfully complete their sentence, it's actually a non-conviction. So we are talking about people who have not been convicted of a crime if they complete their sentence successfully. So why do we need to update this bill? Well, currently, anyone who pleads first offender, if they successfully complete their sentence, the judge may seal and restrict the records upon completion of the sentence. We know that everything is on the internet now, and so that has become a problem for a lot of people who think they're pleading first offender and are going to get that second chance. But since their records are already out in the cloud, it's not the second chance they had been promised. So this bill simply requires that the records would be sealed at sentencing, and then if the person who has used the first offender plea does not successfully complete their sentence, then the judge will be able to unseal those records. And we feel like that retains the intended purpose for the First Offender Act to begin with, and that would help give Georgians the second chance that we're promising them in our law. And Mr. Speaker, that is the bill, and if I have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But if I don't, I'll be happy to yield the will.
I was talking about health care. I'm sorry. You have a couple of questions. The lady will yield.
I will.
Chair Lady Silcox, to your right in the back, has a question. Ladies recognized.
Do you yield?
I do.
Isn't it true that this will help a lot of people who have made a mistake, as you said? This will help them to be rehabilitated and to more easily get jobs and re-enter the workforce without a record.
That's true.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing the bill.
You're welcome.
Lady, yield for a couple more.
Yes, sir.
Representative Mac Jackson, to your right, is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentlelady yield?
I do.
One question. Does the federal government recognize Georgia's first offender?
Well, that's a good question. And I don't know that the federal government would be involved with it. It's been in place since the 1960s, so not being an attorney, I don't know how to answer that question, but anybody want to help me out here? I think
if a person commits a crime and they are sentenced under the First Offender Act, and then they commit another crime, can the feds go back and unseal that First Offender Act? A state crime.
I would assume so.
I've been advised that they can by a qualified person sitting in one of our members.
At any point, a
Just trying
qualified
to help
person
there.
has said yes. Mr. Speaker,
We're going to answer these questions. Madam Chair, we're going to answer these questions. We get some help. Let's recognize someone I think may can offer some assistance here.
Okay.
Representative Miller is recognized for a question.
Thank you. Does the gentlelady yield? Is it not true that law enforcement can always access criminal records even if they have been sealed by the court? That is for public purposes and not for law enforcement purposes.
It is true, and thank you for that. And we've made sure that that intent was safe within this new language. Thank you.
You've done a great job on this. You have one more question who's been waiting patiently. That's Representative Douglas to your right in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does a gentlelady yield?
I do.
I love the bill. I have one exciting question. Does it go back and cover the people that's under that same First Offender Act going forward?
If they were sentenced before July 1st of 2025, then they can petition the judge to do exactly that. They would have to go, it wouldn't be automatic, they would have to petition the judge for that, but yes, that's included in here.
Thank you for this bill.
Well, I thought you were done, but you have another couple of legal eagles that want to weigh in here, so well, you have a whole lot of legal eagles want to weigh in now. I'm going to give a couple of them a question. Representative Leverett is recognized for a question.
Will the chair lady yield?
I will.
Is it not true that House Bill 162 in no way, to the minority chair lady's point, it in no way hinders or impedes any legitimate criminal investigation? This is simply about other access by other people to criminal records, and such as an employment search or something of that nature.
That's absolutely true. We were very careful to make sure that anyone who needed access to these records were specifically mentioned within the language so that they would have access if necessary. Yes.
Will the chair lady have one other question?
Yes.
Is it also not true that this bill is very careful about ensuring the promise that we made to people who make one mistake back in the 1960s when the bill was initially passed, by making sure that even during the pendency of your first offender program completion, that information is not also made public, which is the main problem that motivated the filing of the legislation?
Absolutely. That's
Thank
true.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Lady has a couple more questions if she'll yield.
Would you like for me to yield, or?
You're the boss. It's a good bill. Let's take one from
I'll do one more.
Representative Santos has a question to your left. To your right. I'm sorry. I got my arms mixed up.
Thank you. Quick question. Does this bill also cover the first conditional discharge? The first offender and the first conditional discharge, to my understanding, are used for different types of offenses, but they're used at the same level to prevent the first offense in that.
It's my understanding if they plead first offender, they are just utilizing first offender.
Okay.
It's my understanding.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to yield the well. Thank you, and I ask for your favorable consideration of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a great job. Thorough presentation of the bill. Ladies, yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All those in favor of the bill, the passage of the bill, will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purposes Representative Al Williams rise?
Inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that I would like for some of these learned legal minds to explain why one of my constituents who doing a sorority prank was picked up for shoplifting under the First Offense Act and years later was denied a job as a teacher because it came up? Is it not true?
I'm sure the gentleman knows what he speaks. I may have an answer now. Let's see. I'm not sure about that. For what purpose does Whip Burchett rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true, Mr. Speaker, that what the bill seeks to do is essentially what happens at the terminus of a first offender plea? In a first offender plea, the charge never sticks to the individual if they fulfill their program that has been outlaid by the court. Now, if they breach the program, then the charge sticks and they have to abide by the rest of whatever the program is. So what this bill will do, isn't it true, Mr. Speaker, is that upon making the plea, then you will not be able to access that record showing that you are currently under a plea for first offenders. So that if you are applying for a job right now and you are under a first offenders, it doesn't show up currently right now. Isn't that true, Mr. Speaker?
I'm sure the learned...
About as clear as mud,
I wasn't going to say that. You said it. I'm glad you said that, though. I'm sure the learned gentleman knows what he speaks. How about if we hear from the Majority Leader illustration? For what purpose do you rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that currently, as you're seeking employment for certain secured employment, such as elder care, minor care, things like that, there's a different, what GCIC calls a purpose code that's used to the gentleman. A purpose code is used that then allows certain criminal history to be available because of the sensitive nature of the employment. But what we're talking about here is already under existing law, you can ask the court at the time of sentencing to issue an order restricting and sealing the record, and this would just allow that to occur automatically, so you wouldn't have the additional stage in there. But as far as the gentleman's question from earlier, based upon certain sensitive types of employment, certain criminal history may be available, and certainly, as the gentlelady said earlier, for law enforcement and judicial searches, that entire criminal history is always going to be available through GCIC for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leader, for providing that clarity. We do appreciate it. Have all members now voted? All members voted. Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machines on the passage of House Bill 162? The yeas are 172, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption of House Bill 177? 177.
House Bill 177 by Representative Cooper, the 45th, and others, to be entitled an act to amend Title 19 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to domestic relations so as to provide protection for household pets in both family violence and dating violence protective orders. This bill has been referred to the Committee on Judiciary. That committee recommends that this bill do pass.
The gentlelady is recognized to present the bill. Chairlady Cooper, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you House Bill 177. Unfortunately, when people decide to break up a marriage or a relationship, it is often not very harmonious, to say the least. And one or the other of the people that are moving out or unhappy will then often become violent or abusive vocally, threatening to try to get the other person to stay. And what happens at that time, one person will go and apply for a temporary protective order, which lets the judge say, here are the parameters. You can't step on the property. You're not allowed to take the children from school. And there's a list of things that they do. And the one thing that's been missing, and it's really terrible that we have to add pets, but people who do not have good control of themselves have found a way to terrorize the person that wants them to leave or that is leaving, and that is by harming the family pet. And so what this bill allows them to do is, when they ask for a temporary protective order, the judge can also tell the opposing person what parameters and what legal rights they have and so forth surrounding the pet, so as to protect the pet. Nothing is worse than a father, and it's usually the father, not always, threatening to kill in front of the children a family pet. That's something that stays with a child for the rest of their life. And it seems like we are getting a meaner part of our society that is using this type of threat more often. So I would ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 177, which simply allows the judges to protect family pets from abuse and harm. And Mr. Speaker, if there are no questions, I will yield the well.
You do have a couple of questions. The lady will yield. Representative Silcox, to your right in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentlelady yield, please?
Yes, I will.
Is it not true that House Bill 177 simply extends the ability of protective orders to cover household pets, ensuring that survivors of domestic violence are not forced to leave their animals behind when seeking safety?
Yes, it does. There are statistics that about 40% of all domestic violence victims where their pets were threatened with violence, 40%. And it's also one of the reasons that women often will not leave a really bad relationship because they cannot go to a shelter that will take a pet, and they are afraid something will happen to the family pet. Thank you for that question.
Thank you for bringing the bill.
Lady has one more question. Representative
yield for one
Burnell.
more.
Representative Burnell is recognized for a question. To your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would Lady yield?
Yes.
Thank you for this bill. Isn't it also true that people will use their pets from elderly relatives if they don't give them money, that they will also threaten to harm their pet?
Thank you for bringing that up. I really wanted that added, but it's in another part of the law on elders. It is frequently and more often becoming where elderly people are threatened that their pets will be taken away if they don't sign over their checkbook and their bank account to a nephew or a grandson on drugs, or that their pets will be harmed. So we really need to look at that going forward, because for our elderly, their pets are often their main comfort and support. And so we do need to look at that. Thank you for asking that question. And Mr. Speaker, I yield the well and ask for the favorable vote for House Bill 177. Thank you.
Yeah, we do love our pets. I'm there with you. Ladies, yielded the well. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no. And Mr. Clerk, will you unlock the machine? Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative New rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that studies have shown abusers frequently threaten or harm pets as a means of coercing or controlling their victims, making the inclusions of pets in protective orders a necessity and a logical step?
I'm sure the lady is correct, and thank you for that inquiry. All members voted. If so, Mr. Clerk, will you lock the machine? On the passage of House Bill 177, the yeas are 164, the nays are 3. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. We'll do privilege resolutions in a moment. Representative Baker. We're going to go on the afternoon orders. Representative Baker is recognized for an afternoon order. Members, would you please give the lady in the well your attention? Representative Baker, thank you for your afternoon order.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker and colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity to share my moment in Black history. If you look at the board, you'll see a photo of astronaut Mae Jemison and a photo of the Space Shuttle Endeavour. On September 12, 1992, at 10:23 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, location Kennedy Space Center, Launch Pad 39B, Mae Jemison soared into history, becoming the first African American woman in space aboard the Space Shuttle Endeavour. During her 8-day journey, she spent more than 190 hours in space. She traveled approximately 3.3 million miles and orbited Earth 127 times.
Lady will suspend.
Jemison's journey to space was driven by determination, intelligence, and a fearless pursuit of her dreams. She was born in Decatur, Alabama, and even as a young child, she was fascinated by space and science. She was always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. At just 16 years old, she enrolled at Stanford University, where she earned a degree in chemical engineering. After graduating Stanford, she went on to Cornell University Medical School, where she earned her medical degree. For several years, she practiced medicine and even served with the Peace Corps in West Africa, applying her expertise to improving the lives of others. But still, the call of space was too strong for her to ignore. So she set her sights on NASA, and in 1987, she shattered barriers as the first African American woman accepted into NASA's space training program. And as we now know, it was just 5 years later, in 1992, when she made history once again, soaring beyond Earth and into the record books as the first Black woman in space. Jemison's journey is proof that no dream is too big, whether it's becoming a doctor, an engineer, or an astronaut. So today, as we celebrate Black History Month, I reflect on how Mae Jemison just didn't travel to space. She redefined who belongs there. She showed us that space isn't just a place to explore. It's a place to break barriers and inspire the world. I yield the well.
Awesome accomplishment. Thank you for filling us in there. Representative Draper is recognized for an afternoon order. Give the lady your attention, please.
When I say, you can see what mic on. So I'm going to hold it when I say. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, colleagues, I am very disturbed by what I heard from this well yesterday about the future of Section 504. Section 504, for more than half a century, has guaranteed access to education and services for people with disabilities. It is a program that so many Georgians rely on. And our Attorney General has joined a lawsuit asking the court to end it. And yet, we heard a member of this body yesterday represent to the public and to the disability community that Section 504 is not at risk. Well, to the public, I say this. You are being asked to not believe what you can see with your own eyes. Because on the question of whether Section 504 is being threatened by Georgia's own Attorney General, the answer is an unequivocal yes. And you do not have to take my word for it. Take the words directly from the Attorney General's lawsuit. The lawsuit he chose to join on behalf of the people of Georgia. The lawsuit he is spending your tax dollars on. The lawsuit he has signed. Count 3 is explicit. It alleges that Section 504 is unconstitutional. And it goes on for 3 pages explaining why. The suit sums up count 3 with the following, and I quote, 239, because Section 504 is coercive, untethered to the federal interest in disability, and unfairly retroactive, the Rehabilitation Act is not constitutional under the spending clause. 240, the constitutional violation posed by invalid spending legislation can be remedied by injunctive relief that precludes relevant federal officials from withdrawing funds for in-compliance. That is legal speak, stating that the state shouldn't have to comply with Section 504 because it is unconstitutional. And then you can go to the end of the lawsuit. Again, this is a publicly available document. And go to the prayer for relief. That's legal speak for the people who brought the lawsuit. It's what they're asking the court to do. And clear as day, when you go to point D, the Attorney General is asking the court to declare Section 504 unconstitutional. It is in black and white. It is uncontrovertible. So here's what I would ask of my colleagues if they want to debate the wisdom of filing a lawsuit calling for the end of Section 504. Do not represent to the public that 504 is not at risk. It is. If the Attorney General doesn't want this lawsuit to go so far as to abolish 504, he should not have included that ask in his lawsuit. It is that simple. And do not call those of us who are sounding the alarm shameful and intellectually dishonest for doing so. Do not say that we are the ones fomenting fear, confusion, and misinformation for confirming to the public that their valid concerns are supported in fact. The fear and confusion are stemming from what the Attorney General, from his signed complaint, not from the fact that we are confirming that this lawsuit exists. You are gaslighting the public by telling them not to believe what they can see with their own eyes. And I would suggest that if we want to tell the public you are protecting Section 504, Georgia should pull out from this lawsuit that is seeking its destruction. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Okay. I'm just going, the chair forgot to make a point, and I'm going to remind members, afternoon orders for 10 minutes. Now, if you want to go up here and talk the whole time so no one else can have a time, we're going to do that. But I'm going to limit afternoon orders to 10 minutes. Be respectful of the other members that would like to speak. Fair and simple. Chair Dempsey and Holcomb are recognized, and Representative Scott Holcomb are recognized for an important afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon. I'll be very quick about this. On my desk, I have the Wrongful Conviction Compensation Act. Many of you have been very familiar with this. I would like to offer anybody the opportunity to sign it who would like to. I plan to drop it immediately after session today. It is a very good measure. Representative Holcomb has worked on it for years. We're going to work together this time to make sure that we take this policy out of our hands and put it back in judges' hands who are well equipped to do it. Thank you. It's on my desk. If y'all would please stop by and sign it quickly.
Thank you. Representative Al Williams is recognized for an afternoon order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Very quickly, have some friends, including my godson, who is up in the gallery, and with Alvin and Danielle Hosley, who's my Paige's parents are up, so good to have them. But I specifically wanted to mention there is a bill about cell phones in schools. And I want you to know that a year ago, starting in September, Liberty County schools banned all cell phones in school. The sun rose the next morning. The moon came up that night. But the interesting thing is, the students are doing so much better. And guess what? Some of them are having conversations at last. There's nothing wrong with banning cell phones from classrooms. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Chastain, whose guests were not here earlier, is recognized for an afternoon order.
We had several. Chair Lady Dempsey's coming up too.
And friends.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On your desk, you have an announcement for the 6th Annual Co-Responders Conference. It will be here in Atlanta, June 1st through the 4th. And today we have the Highland Rivers Behavioral Health Team with us. Today, Melanie Davis, the CEO, and Christy Lindstrom is the Senior Workforce Development Officer. Highland Rivers serves 13 counties in North Georgia, including Fannin and Gilmer, which is in my district. This summer, the Highland Rivers and Viewpoint Health will co-host this Responders Conference in Atlanta. The conference focuses on the relationship between first responders, police, firefighters, and mental health providers and their co-response to crisis calls. So we appreciate Melanie and Christy being here today and all they do for the state and for North Georgia. Thank you.
I'm going to allow the minority leader and Representative Reese, Representative Hughley, Representative Reese, I think y'all have someone here that's noteworthy of recognition. You're recognized. Give the lady and the gentleman in the well your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, we have a special guest with us, and she is our Clerk of Superior Court. We're delighted to have her. Ms. Danielle Forte is with us. Just wave at them. She's in the back of the room. Y'all give her a warm house welcome.
Representative Dempsey has some folks here today she wants to tell us about. Representative Dempsey.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One more quick thing. For those of you who are new, particularly on your desk today, you have the whole child primer. Let me tell you how important this is. I know it's big. I was asked if there were cliff notes for it, but let me tell you what, there's a great index. Anything related to child well-being and all of our very special children in the state is in here. Keep it. Don't toss it. It is a great reference for the entire year. Also, Voices for Georgia Children is holding their reception this afternoon across the street at Atlanta City Hall. Get to know Voices. They are leaders in our state. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Dempsey. We appreciate your afternoon order. We're going to move on to privileged resolutions. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions?
Honoring the life and memory of Richard B. Sagers. Honoring the life and memory of Mother Hattie Lou Prothero Newton. Honoring and commending the Multi-Agency Alliance for Children. Honoring and commending Ryland Rogers. Recognizing and commending Judge Hallie W. Veal on her outstanding public service. Recognizing and commending Coach Andre Lacey and the Payne College golf team. Recognizing and commending Collie Greenwood. Honoring the inspiring journey and achievements of Nolan Sentel Smith Jr. Recognizing and commending Chelsea Rayburn as the distinguished Poet Laureate of Georgia. Recognizing and commending Jacob Crumbly. Recognizing February 10, 2025 as Effingham County Day at the State Capitol. Recognizing and commending Fort Benning Lodge number 579. Recognizing and commending Reverend Dr. William J. Smith Jr. Recognizing February 19, 2025 is Reach Out Read Day at the State Capitol, recognizing and commending the American Cancer Society Action Network in Georgia, recognizing and commending the STEM education and workforce development initiatives through STEM Summit, commending the Boy Scouts of America in Georgia and recognizing February 26, 2025 as Scouts Day at the Capitol, commending the Georgia chapter of National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives for its 41 years of service, and recognizing March 6, 2025 as Georgia chapter of Noble Day at the State Capitol, recognizing and commending Student Leadership North, congratulating North Hall High School cross-country program for its outstanding achievements during the 2024 season, congratulating the North Hall Middle School boys and girls cross-country teams for winning the 2024 GHSA Middle School State Cross-Country Championship, and commending the Clayton County government, the Clayton County Chamber of Commerce, and the Atlanta Airport Chamber of Commerce, and recognizing February 6, 2025 as Clayton County Day at the state capitol. And for other purposes, that completes the reading of the privilege resolutions.
Is there any objection to adopting the privilege resolutions? Hearing none, the resolutions are adopted. We have a couple of motions we're going to consider at this time. For what purpose does Representative New rise? We'll come back to her. For what purpose does Representative Gilliard rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
That House Bill 465 be moved from Public Safety and Homeland Security to Human Relations and Aging. Both chairmen have agreed.
Thank you, Representative. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 465 by Representative Gilliard, the 162nd and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 7 of Chapter 3 to Title 35 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to statewide alert systems for missing disabled adults.
On the gentleman's motion that House Bill 465 be withdrawn from the Public Safety Committee and recommitted to the Human Relations Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, is so ordered. For what purpose does Chairman Dickey rise?
Motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I'd like to ask HB 495 to be moved back into Agricultural and Consumer Affairs Committee.
You want to move it back?
Move it back.
Move it back. Okay. Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 495 by Representative Dickey, the 134th to be titled an act to amend Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to education so as to repeal Chapter 18.
On the gentleman's motion, House Bill 495 be recommitted to Agriculture Committee. Is there objection? Hearing none, is so ordered. For what purpose does Representative Oliver rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move that House Bill 399 be moved from Judiciary to Government Affairs, and both chair agree.
On the lady's motion, House Bill 399 be withdrawn from the Judiciary Committee and recommitted to the Government Affairs Committee. Did I forget that? Sorry, Mr. Clerk. I kind of left you out on that one, didn't I? Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 399 by Representative Oliver, the 84th and others to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 44 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to landlords and tenants in general.
I thought myself and Representative Oliver could handle it on our own, but I guess not. On the lady's motion that House Bill 399 be withdrawn from the Judiciary Committee and recommitted to the Government Affairs Committee, is there objection? Hearing none, is so ordered. For what purpose does Representative New rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I motion that HB 426 be moved from Government Affairs to Judicial. Both chairs agree.
Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption?
House Bill 426 by Representative New, the 40th and others be titled an act to amend Chapter 10 of Title 15 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to magistrate courts.
On the lady's motion, the House Bill 426 be withdrawn from the Government Affairs Committee and recommitted to the Judiciary Committee. Is there objection? Hearing none, is so ordered. We're moving on to announcements. Chairman Corbett is recognized for an announcement. Chairman Scoggins and Chair Smith are on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Rural Caucus will meet upon adjournment over the Ag Building. Lunch will be served. Thank you all. Y'all come join us.
Chairman Scoggins recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Special rules will meet at 3 o'clock and 5:15. We have about 3 bills to look at. Thank you.
Chairman Lynn Smith recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Natural Resource Full Committee meeting is tomorrow morning at our regular time, 6:06 CLOB. Pay attention to the subcommittee this evening. That's when we'll be debating the bills for tomorrow's calendar. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Lumsden's recognized for an announcement.
There will be a meeting of the Full House Insurance Committee in the morning, 8 a.m., CLOB 506, Full House Insurance Committee. Thank you.
8 a.m., 5:06. Chair Ballinger recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen up. Your Judiciary Juvenile Committee is going to meet this afternoon, 515 over in the CLOB. However, we are pushing the meeting back 30 minutes. So we will be starting the meeting at 1:30. So 1:30, 515 in the CLOB for Judiciary Juvenile. Thank you.
Dean of the House, Representative Gerald Green, is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am not pushing it back 30 minutes. We are going to meet at 1 o'clock, the State Properties Committee, in 403 of the Capitol. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
1 o'clock, 403. Representative Vance Smith, the gentleman from Columbus, Pine Mountain, I'm sorry.
There you go. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This afternoon at 3:30, we're going to have the subcommittee of Natural Resources, the Resource Management Subcommittee, room 415 at 3:30. Please be there so we can have a quorum. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chairman of Banks and Banking, Representative Noel Williams, is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to have a meeting today at 406 CLOB at 1 o'clock. We have 3 bills to get out today, so please be there, but we'll be meeting in 30 minutes in 406 CLOB at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
Representative Parris is recognized for an announcement.
Hey, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today is Macon Day, and I hope that you all are ready for some fried fish. Macon, of course, is one of the top 10 places to visit in 2025. We're going to have Macon music. We'll also have some special guests from under the Gold Dome. The event is tonight from 4:30 to 7 o'clock, and it'll be in the Freight Depot. So you all make sure you come and have fish on us. Thanks.
All right. Macon event.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Depot from 4:30, is that what you said? 4:30 to 7. Chairman Crow is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The House Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee will meet this afternoon at 1 o'clock in room 506 CLOB.
Representative Glaze is recognized for an announcement. And friends. Representative Flannery.
Fulton County Youth Commission will be here today for a mock hearing at 3:30 to 4:30, and we'll be in 216 CAP. Please, for those who are part of the Fulton County delegation, if you can make it, come on over and meet some youth and help them understand how we get bills to the floor and get bills passed. Thank you so much for your support, and I yield the well.
Chairman Anderson is recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Governmental Affairs Full Committee will meet this afternoon at 3 o'clock in room 606. Thank you.
That completes our announcements. Members, if you have a page that's worked so hard today, I want you to come down and let's get some page photos. We're about done. We do have a birthday today. Just how old are you? Chairman, yeah, I know the feeling. Chairman Bill Werkheiser has a birthday today. Let's wish the chairman a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Bill. Representative Holly, you had a birthday last week, but you had an announcement. The gentleman's recognized for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I wanted to remind everybody that today is Black Midwife Day, and they are actually meeting. They're doing some ceremony, some recognitions, and they have hot lunch, and it's available in CAP 123. CAP 123. That's all. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, sir. Majority Leader of this House, Leader F. Stration, is recognized for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Thursday, February 20th, 2025.
On the motion of the Majority Leader that this House stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February 20, 2025. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed will say no. Yep. It's clear to me. The ayes have it. We're adjourned.